Yo, what the deal? It's your boy X.E.L. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you. Yes, you. Thank you for coming back. But if you are new here, please do me a favor and like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll let you know when I drop another video. Today, what I'm going to do is actually create a hip hop beat inside of Cakewalk. I'm only going to be using the SI instruments. So if you know what those are, you know what the deal is. But let's hear this word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by DistroKid, and DistroKid, we already know, it's the best way to get your music on all these streaming platforms, whether that's Apple, Tidal, Amazon, Spotify, and even TikTok. Yes, and even TikTok. So if you're a person out there trying to actually grow your fan base, they have super dope things like hyperlinks that you can actually put on your TikTok or on your Instagram accounts and actually show a whole bunch of different things that you're actually doing with your music, whether that be videos, music, links, websites, all that can be linked inside of the hyperlink, which is super dope. If you go to my Instagram account, which is XELOHH, definitely check me out there on Instagram and you can see my hyperlink in there and it'll show you all those cool features all in one spot from DistroKid. So if you haven't already, I have a link below in the description. You can get 7% off of your first year with DistroKid. See you there. Peace. All right, so here we are in Cakewalk and you're at the Let's Get Started page. I'm gonna go to the new project and I'm gonna go to empty project. So this will create a brand new empty project inside of Cakewalk. I'm gonna go step by step with this. I will even throw in the CWP file. So if you are on Cakewalk by Bandlab, you should be able to open it. If you're on the new Sonar, you should be able to open this. If you're on Reaper, you should be able to open this file as well. So any one of those, you'll be able to open these files and be able to use them in those DAWs. So usually the first thing I want to do is make sure I get a good tempo. If I'm going to do a hip hop beat, I'm probably going to do around 85 to 90. So let's say 88. All right. So we have the 88 beats per minute as the tempo that we have on here. To add an instrument is super easy. You just hit on this little plus sign right here. And once you click on the plus sign, it gives you an option for audio or instrument. So you want to click on the one that says instrument, right? And where it says instruments here, it says MIDI only. You can click this little drop down and you can search for your SI stuff. Usually it may be in an uncategorized, or you may have another section where it'll be, but I have mine's kind of set up as another folder. So I have my Cakewalk SI folder set up inside of Cakewalk, and this is super easy to do if you're trying to add instruments. I can show you that real quick. So usually what you want to do is go over here to this left-hand side and you want to go to the instruments, right? And all these instruments are over here and you can actually search them as well. So if I go SI, it'll bring up all the SI instruments and where I have them in different places. So if I wanted to make a new place for this, I can right click on it and you'll have this window. It'll tell you if you can rename the actual sound. It'll tell you what category you have it in. And if you wanted to, you can go to a different category by hitting this drop down, right? Or you can hit this plus sign to add it to a whole different directory, which is really cool. I really like that feature that they actually have in Cakewalk to do this. And you can create your own little setup for it like I did, right? So now I have my Cakewalk SI here. So you can drag it and put it over here. But I think the easiest way to do it is just to hit the plus sign and go to instrument, and then we'll just pull up the SI stuff from here. All right, so I'm going to start out with some drums. I know this is not usually what people do, is start with drums, but I'm going to start with drums. And if I hit this little arrow here, this will drop down my menu so I can kind of see things a little bit better. I can even stretch this out. So if you don't see all of this stuff on here, you can always go right here where it says custom, hit this little drop down, and you have an option that says all. This will show you all the settings for it. So your volume, your pen, your velocity, your ins and outs, all that stuff will be right here inside of the track view, right? So you have your effects here as well. So if you need to add effects, it's really simple to do that. So if you want to bring up the instrument, you just click on this top one here, this little piano looking option, click on that. And here is the SI drums. I'm going to move it to the middle of the screen, make it a little easier for you guys to kind of see. So all your sounds are right here inside of Cakewalk. And what a lot of people don't know is that you have other sounds and other kits inside these SI instruments. So if you go here to where it says default programs, you can click on this and it'll give you a whole bunch of options for other kits that you can actually use inside this VST. So right now it's on default. So if you wanted to, I can go to, let's go to the Beat Punisher. And that's one of the really cool things that I do like about this. And you also have an option to play different tracks. So if I wanted to, I can go, let's say hip hop, and let's go to this hip hop 5, right? So if I double click it, it'll actually play a little section. And if I wanted to, I can bring this down here and bring this one here. Right, so that is one of the really cool things that you actually have inside here. Of course, you have your option to do tuning on here. You have an option for panning and your volume as well as these sounds. And you have a compressor, a reverb, and your volume right here. The disappointing part about this tool is that you can't actually stem them out to have them on different tracks. You will have to kind of do it manually by basically recreating the track and then adding them to a different track. That has been the only way that I've known or seen how to actually do this for these SI instruments. I wish they did have an option to kind of split them up, but currently there's not a way to do that. But going through that, you can always even drag these into the track itself. So let's say I wanted this first one, right? I can grab it and drag it into the actual track. So now I have the MIDI for it set up on the track. So if I play this, and now we have a nice little hip hop beat set up on there really, really quickly if you wanted to do it that way. There's other ways to set these things up. So I'm gonna delete this out of that track and I'm gonna go to the step sequencer. So if you go right here, this little box will bring up the step sequencer. And I'm gonna just pull this up a little bit more so you can see a little bit better. And I'm gonna close out of the drums. All right, and of course, you have the option to kind of do whatever you want to. So if I wanted to put a kick, I could put a kick. And as you see, it'll make a kick inside the track here up at the top. If I wanted to expand this out for beat wise, I can do that. I can do like the 16, which would be a 4-bar loop. Right. So as you can see, this is a 4-bar loop now up here. And let's just do a regular kind of boom bap kind of thing. Boom. And then you can just kind of click them in. If you want to click it in, you just click it with the left click. If you right click it, it'll remove it out of the box, right? Now, I kind of wanted to go boop, boop. So I'm going to do it like that. And you can just make this simple pattern really easy and just kind of just duplicate it all the way across, right? And just going to put a snare on each one of these. All right, and let's put this as a loop. So I'm actually going to go loop. You hit this button right here and it'll actually loop it. And if you always want your loop to be like 5 bars, you can always set it here, or try to say 4 bars. You can set your loop here. That way it'll always do the 4-bar loop. So if I play it from the beginning now. All right, so now we have that set up on here. So now we just need to find a hi-hat, and here is our hi-hat. So what I want to do is right click on here, and I'm going to do fill every 2 steps. So you have an option to fill every 2 steps right here, which is really cool. And then I want to actually change some of the velocities on here. So I'm just going to click and then drag across to kind of give my velocity some kind of different changes for the hi-hats, right? So now I have some random velocities for my hi-hats. I also want to, actually I want to do a time shift to offset some of the hi-hats. So I'm gonna click on this and let's go a little slower, right? So I'm gonna bring it back some and even add a little bit of swing to it. right? So now you can feel that swing that's actually happening with the drums. I'm going to actually swing the snares forward, right? And for the kicks, I want to make sure that it goes ba-boom. So basically the second kick is the hard kick, right? And let's raise the volume for the kicks, because the kicks is usually what you want to be dominant inside of the track itself. And then I can even do a one here. Right? So now we have a nice little groove for the drums itself, but it doesn't really stop here. We can actually change the sounds of the drums just by going up here to this SI drums and then choosing a different kind of setup. So let's do the big room kit. Right? So now we have like the ghost kick in there with the thump of the heavy kick behind it. I think this will work a little bit better for what we're going for. And this is how you can actually set up the SI drum kit really, really easy inside of Cakewalk. So if you wanted to, you can even make this into the piano roll by bouncing this to clip. So you can right click on the actual MIDI section up here, right? And you can do a bounce to clips, and this will bring it into the piano roll instead of it being inside of the step sequencer. That's if you want to do that. You can always bring it back into the step sequencer if you wanted to. So if I click on that, now it is now in the piano roll. So if I double click it, it is now set up inside of the piano roll. I rather it be this way just because I can remove them and actually add them to different tracks. So what I'll do is right click over here. And what I want to do is duplicate the track, right? And Cakewalk gives you this little dialog box where you can actually add more things. So I want the events. So all the things that are in here are the events. And I want it repeated twice because I want a kick and a snare one. And it's going to start at track 2, and it's going to do all the properties that it has on there. If I had any effects, I can do the effects and the sends here as well. But I'm hit OK. And Cakewalk makes those other 2 tracks in here, which is pretty cool. So now I can click on this top one, double click and make sure I'm highlighted on that one. And I want this one to be the kick. So I'm going to take off the top 2, which is the hi-hat and the snare. All right. And I'll able to delete that. And let's go to the second one. And I want this one to be the snare. So I'm going to take off the hi-hat and I'm going to take off the kicks. So that one is only the snare. So we're going to do this last one. And this one is only going to be the hi-hats. So I'm going to delete the kick and the snare. So now we have them on their separate tracks. And if we wanted to, we can actually change them to the sounds that we wanted to change them to. So, and if we wanted to actually layer, this way we can actually layer as well. So if I wanted to layer my kick, I can just duplicate this kick and actually add another kick underneath it to give it a little bit more thump with like a sharper kick. So because right now it already has a thump, you can just add another layer underneath it and it'll bring it out a little bit more. So let's actually do that. So let's go here and I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to duplicate track. And I want the events, yes. And then I'm going to hit OK. So now I have a kick here as well, and I'm going to change the kick here. So I can go to a different kit and see what we can find that actually works, right? Hey. right? So now we have a nice little bounce to the drums as well. So this is what you can actually do inside of Cakewalk to kind of layer up your kicks or your snares. Then you can even bounce them to clips or make them into one entity by making them into like a wave. So you have all these options to kind of do these things inside of Cakewalk, which is pretty cool if you're just kind of starting out. And you can always add effects if you wanted to. So if you wanted to have like a reverb for the snare to have it pop a little bit more, you wanted to put a compressor on here, you can do all those things in here. Really, really easy and simple. Let's name this stuff so we'll know exactly what we're doing here. So this is kick 1. All right, so we have everything labeled, which is very, very important. Make sure you guys are labeling your tracks. It does make a difference. So let's do these hi-hats here and let's look for some Cakewalk plugins. So there's a whole section for just Cakewalk stuff. And I'm going to use the percussion strip. If you haven't used this before, it's actually a really, really good tool and it's free inside of Cakewalk by Bandlab. You can actually even use this in other DAWs. I've used it in Reaper. I've used it in FL Studio. I've used it in Ableton. So you can actually use this in other DAWs as well, which is really cool. Right. So you can even go through the presets on here. I guess not. Yeah, you can go through the presets on here and you can find whatever you kind of want. I'm going to try to go with this sizzle. Basically, it should give me a nice little sizzle for the hi-hats. I'm just going to solo it so you guys can hear it. All right, and here's it bypassed. And here's what it on. And then like it just brings it out a lot more. It gives it a lot of volume. It gives it a lot of saturation. It gives it a nice feel. And I also want to do probably the same for the snare. So I'm going to hold down Control, right? I'm going to grab this and bring it up. And now I have the same exact setup for this snare as I do for the hi-hat. That does help out a lot in making it feel a lot bigger. And you can also do the same thing for the kicks. And you can always also make buses for your drums so that all these will actually go to its own bus. So you can actually set up your percussion that way as well. And I'll probably do that a little later on in this video. And like I said, you will actually get the CWP files for this. So don't worry about it if you're not able to follow along right now. All right, so let's add another instrument. And I'm just going to go right here to this plus sign. And for the instrument, I'm going to drop this down and let's go for the strings. So we're going to do SI strings. And once again, if you hit here, you'll be able to pull up the strings. And you also have it down here inside of the piano roll. So you can click on here to open it up. So if I close this out, right, and I go here, I'll be able to pull up the SI strings. So the SI strings is very cool. It gives you a violin, a cello, and a basses. It also gives you an option to do your release for your strings. Here is your master volume in the middle. You have a chorus that you can add and turn on in here. There's a reverb. You can change the tone. And you can change the tune of the actual strings as well, right? And you also have your attack here. And you have a volume and a pan for each of these instruments as well. And just like you did inside of the drums, you have an option to do a drop down and change the strings as well. So we have a couple of fast attack ones, some DJ, like kind of like a shorter string. You have some movie theme ones. I think that one was always pretty good. Let's use that one for now. And if you wanted to, you can find like a hip hop one. Let's go string hip hop. Let's just double click it. Right. And you can just add this inside the track if you wanted to. I'm not going to do that, but you can if you want to. Right. So let's see if we can actually make some chords down here. And to make chords inside Cakewalk is fairly simple. So what you want to do is go down here to where it says MIDI, click on the MIDI, and you can just choose whatever key you want to. I'm going to use a snap to scale. It makes it a lot easier to kind of make chords inside of Cakewalk. So let's just do a sharp and let's turn it on, right? And right now it's on chromatic, so you want to change this. And we're going to go to this diatonic scales. This will give you like your major and minor. So like you have all these options. So let's go regular stuff. Let's do a natural minor. And we are in C sharp. So we are right here at this note. This is C sharp. It might be a little dark. So let's go up one. So let's start here. And you can click and drag to make it longer. And the next note I will put in will be the same exact length, which is really cool. So let's see where we want to go. So you want to go. Let's do that. So let's go here. And this will break up the kind of the sound that we want. So basically we're going to have this one go long and then these two short ones at the end. So let's hear how that sounds. Right, so now we have nice little progression here that we can actually use. So let's do a chord. So basically what I'm going to do is skip every other one that you can't put it in. So if I try to put it on this white line, it will not let me. As you see, it'll put it above that line. So we want to make sure that we're skipping each note, at least one note inside here. So I skip one, add one, skip one, add one, right? And let's do one more. So skip this one and add one here. And it sounds really, really jazzy. So let's do an inversion. So this key here, and what I'm gonna do is gonna pull it up an octave, and I'm gonna hold down Control and hit the number 8, and that will actually pull it up an octave, as you can see here. All right, so let's make a chord for this one. And let's do one for this one. Skip every other one. So seeing how we inverted that other one, let's invert these other two. So I'm gonna hold down Control and click on this one so I can highlight more than one. And I'm gonna hold Control and hit the number 8, and that'll bring it up an octave. So now we have these chords. All right, so we have our strings, we have our drums. So let's add a new instrument. So I'm gonna hit D on my keyboard, and that'll bring the piano roll down at the bottom to dock it. And I'm gonna hit this plus sign, and let's see if we can add some bass. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna use the SI guitar bass. All right, and once again, you have the option to play the notes on here. You have your volume, your pan, your bass, mid, tremble, and you also have a drive and a compressor on here as well. So this gives you an option for a couple of things on the actual guitar. You can actually do a poly or a mono. Basically, mono will only play one note at a time. Poly will let you play multiple notes. You also have a slide option here, which is cool. And you can also tune the guitar right here as well. And just like the other SI instruments, you have a drop down here that you can use and try other basses. Let's just do the bass man and see how that goes for us. And once again, just like the other ones, you can always go in here and hear how the bass sounds. So really, really cool stuff that they actually added inside of Cakewalk. I just wish they had a little bit more of these kind of things. So what I'm gonna do is grab this one. I'm gonna do Control and left click, I'm going to drag it down, and I'll actually have this one as the bass now. I'm going to do a shift and D and bring this up. So what I want to do is take away these top notes and just keep the bass notes. Right. And then I can also do the same thing. I'm going to go here, see, turn it on, change this to the natural minor. So now I have my natural minor locked in, right? So what I want to do is kind of give like a nice little guitar kind of riff on here. So let's do that. Let's go here. So basically I'm just figuring out where I want to have these bass notes kind of hit. And I kind of shorten the first one because I think it feels better just with a little hit, like boom, boom, boom. Then I go boo doo 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 doo, boo doo doo. Right? So like that's how I feel about it. You can do however you want to with your bass. This is just basically a way you can actually figure things out a lot easier by using these in Cakewalk, because everything is kind of locked to the grid, so you really can't go too wrong, but you just want to make sure you use your ear to hear what you want inside the track. But right now, this is what I have for the bass, drums, and the strings. Right, so I'm gonna hit D on the keyboard, and that'll bring up my other screen here. Let's pull this in so it's not too weird and being out there. And all right, so let's visit our last SI instrument, which would be the electric piano. And I'm gonna grab this one, so I'm gonna hold down Control and grab it and drag it down to here. And let's do a shift in D to bring up the piano roll, make it a little bit bigger. And what I want to do is actually bring all these top ones up an octave. So I'm gonna hold down Control, hit the number 8, bring that up an octave. And I want to change this SI electric piano. So I'm gonna change this to something else. Right, so I'm gonna do the overdrive is what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna add a little tremolo on here just so I can give it a little bit more feel. Right, so now we have all the SI instruments in use, and let's listen to what we have done so far. This is without a mix or anything. So let's actually see if we can add an ARP in here just to give it a little bit more rhythm to the track itself. So what I'm going to use for that is going to be the string. So I'm going to hit D on my keyboard, and I'm going to go up here, add another instrument, and I'm going to add the strings. So I'm going to use the string. Let's go here. And what I want to do is change this to a shorter kind of string. So I'm going to click on here, and I want to use this deche. I believe that's how you say it. Right? So once more, what I'm gonna do is grab this one, and I'm gonna grab it and drag it down. All right, so now I have it on this track here. So I'm gonna double click it to bring up the piano roll. I'm gonna do Shift and D to bring up the piano roll full size. And there's a couple ways to do arpeggiators on inside of Cakewalk. You just make sure everything is highlighted. You can go here and actually do it. Where it says arpeggiators, you can go to turn it on. I'm going to solo it for you. Right? So that makes it a little bit easier to kind of do that. So what I want to do is actually bring these a little bit closer. So I'm going to do a Control and 8 and bring this up an octave. So basically it'll give it a little bit closer proximity for the arps. Right. So for the ARP, what I did was I put it to a forward circle, and I also put it on 1/16 notes, and I put it on 3 octaves. So now if I wanted to, I can highlight all of these and I can do a bounce to clip. And what this will do is actually make the track into this arpeggiator. So I'm gonna go bounce to clips. And now you can actually see what it's actually doing as the ARP, right? All right, so I was able to mute like the strings and the bass because I can probably add this little progression at another section of the beat itself. It's always good to have like some other elements in there. I always try to tell you guys when you're watching my lives, like, hey, you kind of need something else in there. This is probably that something else to have a little breakdown of the monotony of the track itself. So it's always good to have things like this. Right? So just something really simple. Then you could add your effects on here and make it really, really big and stand out the way you want it to. So with that being said, I'm going to end this video here. So this is basically just the fundamentals, the breakdown of how to actually make a beat inside a Cakewalk. Really smooth, really simple. I'm going to actually continue this series on. The next one will be me actually mixing the track so you guys can learn how to arrange tracks in Cakewalk as well. So definitely look forward to that. Make sure if you haven't already that you have liked and subscribed to this channel. And that CWP file will be available in the link below of the description of this video so you guys can mess with this part of it. So when we actually have the mixing part, will be a CWP file just for the mixing part with all this stuff in it. And if I decide to do some vocals and things like that to it, you'll get that one in the next video. So just definitely stay tuned for this little series that I'm creating here for you guys. Like I said, once again, I want to thank you guys and everyone who's actually subscribed to the channel. I'm finally at like 10K at this very moment, hopefully to reach 20K really soon. But with that being said, that's pretty much the end of this video. And once again, it's your boy, X.E.L. Till next time, people. Peace.
AutoRewind.